Be on air. The Hangout on air is live. What's up?
How about that? Rock and roll.
Okay.
So we
So
need people to say hello.
yeah, that's right. So let's go over to our chat. And I'm leaning forward because the screen's a little far away from me. Group chat. Matthew joined. Well, that's you.
That's me. Hi.
So go ahead and write in the chat box. Say hi, tell us your name, and maybe even where you're calling from. Yeah, I'd like to take off my glasses, but I can't see anything without these things.
I tell you what, Michael, I'm dazzled by your
I know.
brilliance.
Let's see,
So
you know,
I'll put on my glasses.
this demonstrates, Matthew. It demonstrates that I'm that much older than you, and you're that much cooler than me.
You know, I don't think you're that much older than me, Michael. I think you've got maybe 10 years on me?
That's a couple of years.
That's 25 years in experience.
That's about a quarter of my life and a third of yours.
If I live to be as old as you, I'll be a happy man.
So maybe our little chat feature is not working because we know people are here. And although I'm not sure about that. So let's see, Q&A. And you know what you can do? You can put in questions right now. Maybe that'll tell us that you're here. And we'll be good to go. This is our first, if you couldn't tell, our first Hangout. We've done probably 1,000 different types of webinar systems, broadcast systems, but this is our first time with Google Hangouts. So we spent the last hour working on it, and we think we've got it, although we can see that, say, Susan from Piedmont, New York, somewhere in New York is here. So she put it in the question box, which is just fabulous.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad you can see that.
So let's see, hold on. Say hi.
Okay, yeah. Rick says, is this the chat box? Rick, that's the question box, which is great, and we're absolutely thrilled that you found it.
Yeah, question box, chat box, any box you'd like. You just put information in there and we'll respond to it.
Absolutely. Rock and roll.
I wrote something in the chat box.
Michael, what are we talking about today?
Oh, whatever you want to talk about. No, we're going to talk about performance.
Okay.
And not just performance speaking from the stage. We'll talk about that if people want to. But we'll talk about what every actor knows about performance, that every marketer also knows. You see,
or should know.
Now not every marketer would be a good actor, and not every actor would be a good marketer. But there are aspects of both marketing and performing that are very, very similar. Petra came down. She says, "I can see Matthew, but not you." Well,
yeah, I've just had the same comment as well. Goodness.
Hold on. Well, I just muted myself, so I'll unmute myself.
No, now you just muted yourself, Michael.
Right. Okay, now I'm good there. Turn the camera on. Now the camera's on. Can you see me?
You're asking the wrong person.
Still can't see me. How is this possible? We were just doing this perfectly a moment ago. Matthew's full screen. Matthew, I know that you arranged this somehow.
You've got to blame me, right? Everybody, Michael's gonna talk, and I'm gonna lip sync.
That's brilliant.
If I put on my glasses, you'll think I'm Michael.
I'm looking for the secret here.
Yeah, now it's you full screen.
Now it's me full screen. Matthew, what did you do?
That's absolutely fine. Let's keep you full screen.
But what did you just do?
I didn't do anything.
How does this make any sense?
It doesn't matter, Michael. We're here to see you.
Hey, Matthew, is Google some kind of new startup company? Is that what it is? Maybe their technology is new?
Trust, credibility, likability, usability.
So now we see you?
Yeah.
Okay, Edwin says, yes, we can see you. Peter can see you. Denise can see you. Josh can see you. Andrea can see you. Yes, there he is. Let's get going. And I tell you what, let's keep that going as well. This feedback in the question and answer box is really good because we honestly, don't have a clue what we're doing. So you tell us whether we're doing it right.
But we're very charming, so we hope you'll put up with us for a few minutes. All right, so The only problem is now I look at myself. I don't want to look at myself. I do that all day long.
Okay, don't touch anything, Michael, if we can see you.
That gets a little boring. So here's the thing. What we're going to talk about is performance. What marketers and actors both know about performance. We're always playing a role. Wouldn't you agree, Matthew?
Yes, we're always playing a role.
Always playing a role. And sometimes people think that there might be something inauthentic about that. And sure, for some people, that's true. That may be inauthentic for some people. They may be inauthentic in the way that they operate in the world. But the best performers, the best marketers are the most authentic people. They are the ones who are real. Now, you can give me a million examples of marketers who are totally full of it and make a gazillion dollars and blah, blah, blah. There are always outliers. There are always examples that you could find that don't fit what anyone is talking about. But for the most part, I believe you want to be authentic. You want to be somebody who shows up in the world in a big way, but an authentic way. So then when people meet you, they go, oh my God, you're so real. You're exactly like I thought you'd be. That's what you're going for. And the marketers that we respect are like that, and the performers that we respect are like that. They're the ones who make the strongest impression on us. And since they understand how to play roles, they know that they're playing roles in every different environment. And they know that everything they do tells the world something about them. So, for example, if I was wearing this hat, okay, if I wore this hat the whole time, that's going to tell you something about me. First of all, you're going to...
You're a pimp.
That I'm a pimp. Yes. Well, you're gonna know that I can't match my clothing because this hat and this shirt clearly do not go together. Then you're gonna say, well, I'm not sure the hat matches this. You're gonna start looking at the hat. So that tells you something. If I had this hat on, hold on. If I had this hat on, it would tell you something else, right? If the whole time I was holding this football while we were talking, that's gonna tell you something else. And if the whole time I'm playing with this, I'm going like this, that's gonna tell you something else. Glasses will tell you one thing, and no glasses will tell you another thing. So all of our clothes, our props, they tell the world something about ourselves, and there is marketing in that. That's an element of performance. It's a role that you're playing. And so when we are trying to spread a message, we need to be that message. And if we think about what people are seeing externally, that will help us, A, tell the message, and B, make sure the message lands. Then, of course, we also need to look at it from the inside out. How are we showing up in the world? Are we self-expressed? Do we stand for something, and are we willing to commit to that? Full stop. And so you see there is such a crossover between marketing and performance. I didn't realize how strong this was until just maybe a year ago. I never really knew why I was so good at marketing so quickly. And when I look back at it, I say, oh my God, all of my years as an actor, all of my years training as a performer is what allowed me to be successful in business. And you wouldn't think that. You'd think quite the opposite. And Matthew, you have a background in performance also. Tell them how you got started in performance. And by the way, you can't see Matthew right now. We don't know why. Google's just messing with us.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But Matthew is my business partner, my good friend, and he's the chief instigator for my company. He's always instigating something, causing some kind of drama for me to do something bigger, to push a little bit harder, to go to the next level. So Matthew, I didn't know was a performer when he first started working with me. But I knew that he understood the concept of performance. And then over time, he revealed that he actually was a street performer when he was younger. So tell them about that, and also tell them what it's like to do street performance. What do you learn from it?
You're absolutely right. So once upon a time, there I was skint, which is a British word for broke. I was 13, 14 years old. My dad was like Scrooge, refused to give me any pocket money. And I was frustrated because I was always money driven. I thought, well, what can I do? What assets do I have, aged 13, 14, that I can exploit in order to make some extra pocket money, to make some allowance money? And I tried, mowing lawns and washing cars and going door to door, even chopping wood for a little while. But it was labor intensive, and I'm always looking for an easy way out. as you know. So I thought, well, what can I do? One of my unusual talents was that I could juggle. I could juggle quite well. I could juggle because my math teacher at school, used to be a clown. And there was some argument that he remained a clown, just happened to be teaching math. But he had an after-school circus skills club that I joined, and I learned to ride a unicycle, and I could throw flaming fire clubs and knives and balls and things like that. So I took myself and my hat, my collecting hat, onto the street and juggled. And I realized that I was in control of my hourly rate. The better I performed, the more I earned. So what I would do is I'd work for just long enough to pay for whatever it is I needed. You know, when I was 13, 14, it was sweets and magazines. As I got older, it was beer and trips to London and things like that. And it kind of stuck with me. And I've actually got a really good business story from street performing, Michael. Can I share that?
Yeah, please. I just wanted to see. I think they can see you now because I can see you now. So I just want to get in the questions section. Just tell me if you can see Matthew while he's talking, and then we'll put it back to me when I talk.
Can you see me when I'm talking? Is the big question. Okay, so we'll find out.
So we'll find out. So please tell them the business story that's related to performing, street performing.
Okay, fantastic. So the business lesson that was related to street performing is a very, very straightforward one. I would stand there and juggle, and I would hope, or just wish that people would put money into my hat. And I did better patter, and I came up with a series of jokes and always the same routine, no matter what it was, same routine from beginning to end, have some jokes, and I still wasn't making much money. And then I did something else, which was I would encourage people to put money in my hat. So I incorporated into my patter the words, please drop a few pounds into my hat. And all of a sudden, more money started to come into my hat. And then I thought, well, how can I do it even more? And I recruited my friend, and I got him to come with me. And I gave my friend my hat, and I said, I want you to walk up to people, put my hat under their nose, and say, money for the juggler. Money for the juggler. And really, the difference there, by asking for the money and by proactively going up to people and giving them the opportunity to spend money or donate or give a few pennies to the busker, made an absolute world of difference. And that, of course, now I teach sales and selling is all about asking the right people for the sale at the right time and giving people the opportunity to buy. Michael, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. My question for you is, do you therefore believe that to be a better business owner, a better salesperson, a better business builder, it helps you to have a background in the performing arts?
I certainly think it gives you a certain kind of advantage, meaning you have some tools in your toolbox that you can leverage, exploit. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful if you weren't a performer, because, of course, most successful business people never actually performed in a way that, at least in the traditional sense, they never did a play or were in a dance concert or did street performing. But if you look at leadership, for example, leadership is a great example because in each different leadership situation, we play a different role. So we play one role as a parent in our house. We play another role as a leader in our organization. We play another role as a leader at say country club. We play another role as a leader on the Little League team. And as a result, if we are able to adopt lots of different leadership styles, which to me means playing different roles, these are all authentic roles because they're amplified parts of your personality. You see, that's what the actor does. They understand how to amplify certain parts of their personality in order to successfully play different roles. And so if you only have one style, if you can only play one role, meaning if you're not a character actor, then you are, I think, limited because you have trouble moving from one environment to the next environment to the next environment. So for example, if you're a four-star general in the Army and you have a very tough disciplinary style, and most people are scared of you, but you've discovered that that particular style is very effective in that environment. I'm not saying that is the most effective for that environment. I'm just saying, let's just say you realize you've discovered that that is a very effective role to play. If you bring that same exact role home, your family life may suffer as a result. Your kids may suffer. Your wife may suffer. So if you can't play a different role, if you don't have different styles of behavior that you can move into, then I think, you're limited. You're relative, and this is, both my parents are mental health professionals, and we've talked about over the years that what they've seen in their work is that people with different styles of behavior who can integrate themselves fluidly into different groups are often successful people and often feel more comfortable. They're more confident. So it's something that we can play with. We can think about. There aren't like 3 steps to, playing a different role in the different areas of your life.
No, there are 4. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. What did you say?
No, there aren't 3 steps. There are 4. Everyone knows there are 4.
Right. There are 4. I have to put my glasses back on.
So, Michael, okay, so what about, does that mean then that, what's the crossover with authenticity? So if I'm naturally introverted, if I am a particular type of character and I'm very aware of the kind of person that introversion has never been my personal problem. But let's say that you're an introvert and you feel that in order to be an effective leader, you have to wear a particular robe or mantle or play a particular role in the office. But then when you come home, you want to be you play a different person. Or when you join your sports team, you want to be a different person. Where does authenticity come into it? Does that mean we have to wear a disguise?
No, that's exactly right. See, the worst actors, the worst performers are the ones who put on disguises, who are pretending to be someone else. That's not what the best performers do. And you do not need to perform like anyone else. You do not need to adopt a style that someone else affects effectively.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think challenges some folks who feel like they're introverts rather than extroverts, the word introvert, because I actually am pretty introverted, but I am very gregarious. So I'm not sure that introvert and extrovert defines personality types.
Sure.
So, but this gregarious thing, if you're not gregarious, can you be a performer? Can you speak on the stage? And the answer is absolutely yes. In fact, some of the best actors are not gregarious. They, in fact, are what people would consider very shy, but the role they're playing allows them to access certain parts of their personality that are bigger or bolder, and they can even play characters that are gregarious because they decide, I'm going to play a role here. I'm just going to call on some parts of myself that I don't necessarily or always feel comfortable expressing in my day-to-day life, but I'll express it on the stage. And if you can do that, you might start to find, wow, I can go into a sales meeting and I can play a particular role. I can develop a character that fits that situation. It's an authentic amplification of a part of your personality that you may not regularly express or not even know it's there.
You know, Michael, there's also there's another really important and interesting point about being aware of the different roles that you play in life and making sure you're playing the right role at the right time. And that's to do with the idea of self-worth and keeping positive. And I'm really badly schooled in this, so whatever information I'm about to give you, citing sources that are probably wrong, but I believe it's from something called transactional analysis. Okay, where you have I read about this through a very famous deceased sales trainer called David Sandler. And he talks about the fact that, and it's not his stuff, so this is why I'm citing bad sources, but he talks about the fact that we all have an identity and we all play different roles. And no matter how well or badly we play a specific role, whether it's the role of father or lover or boss or salesperson or author or copywriter or sports person, no matter what role, no matter how badly or well we play that role, it never damages our core identity. And when we're able to separate the thing that we have done, or the thing that we are doing, the role that we're playing, from the person that we are, in theory then, we never have the excuse or the reason to beat ourselves, our true selves, up if we had a bad day on the phone or if we haven't closed a particular deal. It doesn't mean that you're a worthless person. It doesn't mean that your identity is any less valid than anybody else's. It just means that you've identified an area for improvement within a particular role that you play on a day-to-day basis. And that separation is really the thing that allows you to sleep well at night, even if business is going bad, or you haven't closed the deal, or the launch that you've been planning has all gone to pot because you couldn't work out how to use Google Hangouts or whatever it was. And I found that to be really useful, because my experience of having been a business owner and having run bricks and mortar businesses, I was beating myself up. I was dying inside because I wasn't doing a very good job as a manager of my own company. And then when I was able to separate that, finally, it was like an enormous weight was lifted. That's by being aware. My role today is to be sales manager. My role today is to be salesperson. But when I get home, my identity is still fully integral. Hasn't been damaged. And it's about finding the right role for ourselves as well, because sometimes we're going to go out and play a role, and it's just not going to suit.
Yeah, I love the way that you frame that, because when you are doing anything in the public eye, and to me, doing business is in the public eye, because you're selling, just like when you're performing on a stage, to people that you might not know. So it's a public experience. It's not private. And what the performer who has longevity, the performer who has longevity and mental health, is the one who is able to look at their work and make a separation between their work, as you said, and their core values. Because if I did a performance and I didn't nail it, if I beat myself up as I'm a bad person, I'm no good, I don't have what it takes, well, certainly that's not a really worthwhile way of living, but it also doesn't help us improve. So one of the reasons I love looking at our business development, our public speaking, etc., from the performance perspective is because then I can look at, did I give the performance that I went in to give? And if the answer is yes, good, that means I did the work. If the answer is no, the next question is why? It's because I'm a bad person? It's because there's something wrong with me, or everybody else is better than me? Do I listen to all those small thoughts, those voices of judgment? Or do I identify the cause? Well, you know what? I don't think I should have opened with that, because that opening then influenced this. Or I don't think I should have sent X number of emails, I should have sent Y number of emails, whatever it is. So we're separating performance from values and character, who you are as a person. And I think one of the biggest questions that we need to ask ourselves is, did I do the work? Because we often blame ourselves and beat ourselves up, I think, because we didn't do a great job, because we didn't do the work. And then we say we're a terrible person, we're a bad person, I'm no good. Yeah. And you didn't do it well because you didn't do the work. That's very different. If you're never willing to do the work, then that's just a demonstration of, one of your values. It's not that important to you to achieve what you say you want to achieve. But if it is important to you and you're willing to do the work, then it's much more likely that you'll put on a good show and you'll feel good about yourself. And if you do the work and the show doesn't work perfectly, you don't quit. You don't quit, you don't give up, because you're going toward a goal, you're working toward producing something that is an expression of self. It's a creative endeavor.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is really, really important. One of the things that I keep trying to do is to see, it seems like the question panel stopped taking questions because it's been sitting on the same one for a long time. And I wonder if they're only able to take, 40 questions or something before
I
was asking you.
No idea. There was an interesting one come in just now, but I lost it. Luther, you asked a very interesting question. If I can find it again, I'll share it with everybody else.
So what I'm going to do is I am going to start to answer some questions here.
Sure thing.
And most of the questions in the question box are about whether they could see us or not, which is great.
I found a good question, or a comment that perhaps you could respond to, Michael. So Susan says, Stanislavski, am I pronouncing that right? Stanislavski?
Yes, Stanislavski.
He says you can't play too far out of your natural type. So, to transfer that into a question, do you agree or disagree? And if you agree, what does that mean? Does that mean we need to find our strengths? Does that mean, if we've got your natural type and Stanislavski is right and you can't play too far out of your natural type,
yeah.
How do we apply that to the work that we do or the performances that we give?
Yeah. Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to blue box me. I think it brings it back to me. I agree with that for the most part. I think that I try to avoid putting limits or rules on how far we can go. But we are generally most compelling when we are performing closest to our natural styles. Doesn't mean we can't adopt lots of different styles. But yes, say as an actor, from Stanislavski's perspective, he's saying you're not going to play such extremely different character types that nobody will ever recognize you. And if you try, you're not going to do very well. And there's a limiting message behind that. But I think that this concept makes sense. And in context, I understand exactly why he's saying that. However, I think in our context, I'm not worried that most people are going to go too far. I'm worried that most folks who are listening are not going to go far enough. That's what concerns me. And if I can encourage you guys to do anything with respect to the way you show up in the world and the roles you play, is to go farther. To go farther than you think you should go and then go farther, because you can always pull back. See, it's good to cross the line. As a performer, when you're performing something, you go as far as you possibly can because you can bring it back. If you don't go far enough, you don't see what the potential is.
So one of the things that you did, Michael, when I came to see your Michael Port Method public speaking workshop in Philadelphia, just north of Philly there, it was phenomenal to watch this happen. Because I didn't believe that it would have such, I'm not going to say emotionally fragile implications, but I saw this incredible growth in the person that you did it with by asking them to play fuller out. And this was the ta-da game.
Yeah.
Right? So for those of you who don't know what it is or have never been to a Michael Port Method workshop or who are curious about it, the exercise is very simple. I'll let Michael talk on it in a moment. But it goes like this. If Michael gets the sensation when he's coaching you, if he gets the sensation that perhaps you're not giving it your all, and this is frequently a big issue with all of us. We're not thinking big. We're not playing full out. Michael will say, can you do me a favor? Can you just, I'm not going to try and imitate his accent. My accent is far preferable anyway. He will say, listen, can you do me a favor? Can you just stand up there and say, ta-da? Sure. And so the person the speaker at the time who's being coached will stand up and say, ta-da? And he'll say, no, but more, bigger. Okay. Ta-da? But bigger. And this will go on, for up to 10 or 15 minutes until the vulnerability, the exposure that you see just by standing up there, almost naked. You may as well be naked when you're doing this because you're giving of yourself so fully you don't have any energy left. It's possibly an example of a very simple exercise that we can do in order to play out more fully. Michael, do you want to talk to that?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. But what you said is really important, this idea of the naked vulnerability. If you're on the stage, people will often suggest, if you're nervous, to think about the audience in their underwear.
I'm doing it right now.
Indeed. So I think that might be some of the worst advice ever given. Because if you're really nervous and you start thinking about the people in the audience virtually naked, I don't think that's going to calm you down necessarily.
I get excited.
But here's the thing. What performance is really about, and what growing a business is about, and what doing anything in the world in a big way is about, is being naked yourself. Not literally, metaphorically speaking. You're the one who's naked. That's why it's scary. You're the one who is vulnerable. That's why it's scary. But when you feel secure in vulnerability, that's when you've got power. When you feel secure in your vulnerability, that's when you have power. And the performer is willing to do that. The performer is willing to say, I will get up here and I will tell you the truth. I will show you how I feel, no matter what you think, no matter what the consequences. And they are willing to do that. And if you are willing to do that, then you're fully self-expressed. If you're willing to do that, then the things that seem scary in your work are less so. So the exercise, it seems really simple, and the first time I have someone do it, I don't have everybody do it because it's not necessary or relevant for everybody. But usually, as you said, the first time someone just goes, ta-da! And I say, no. You keep your arms up the whole time. And you've got a whole room of people. If there's nobody there, it's not scary. It's not particularly compelling to do. But if you have a room of people watching you do this, oh my God, and encouraging you on and asking for more, most people have never put themselves out there in that big a way. And you would be surprised, shocked at how tears will often stroll down someone's face. And we're not doing this in order to make someone cry, in order just to make somebody vulnerable. What it does is it allows you to break through. It opens up a part of yourself that you didn't know you could show and be comfortable, completely secure in showing that part of yourself. But once you do it, then your ability to perform changes dramatically from here on in, because every time you up at a level, you now have that level. You'll never go below it. You're up at a level again, now you're at another level. You won't go below it, and again and again and again. And all of us are continuing to improve in that way. None of us are done. Good. Let's take some more questions here.
I've just been taking notes while I've been talking, Michael. Do you think we have space in our events calendar this year for an event called Get Naked with Michael Port?
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
If you're interested in that, fire off an email to questions@michaelport.com.
We'll do that at a retreat center in Costa Rica or something.
Very good. Right, let's see if you have any more questions. I actually have some questions prepared for you, but I think it would be, I get to talk to you all the time, so I think it'd be better to see if there are any questions. Okay, here's a question from Susan. You're right. Go as far as you can. But who do you trust to give you feedback when part of the fear is going too far and when Michael Port is not coaching you?
That's an excellent question. So, I think she's relating, talking about speaking, public speaking. But you can relate this to your marketing campaigns. How do you know? Let's take speaking first as an example. I'd say the second worst piece of advice is the one about the get naked, seeing the audience naked. The first piece of advice that's terrible is rehearsing in front of a mirror. I just can't understand that concept. Right now, I'm seeing myself, and I'm trying not to look at myself because it makes no sense to look at myself doing what I'm doing, talking to you, because the response I'm getting is me doing it now, and I can't feed off that. All it does is confuse me. And in fact, then I look at it, I'm like, oh, you know what, my glasses are crooked. That means one ear is higher than the other, blah, 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 blah. And then you start thinking about things like that, and that has nothing to do with your ability to perform and the effect you're having on the people in the audience. So you need people in the room to give you that feedback. Now, here's the thing. They can generally tell you if it's working or if it's not working from their perspective. If it hits them, if it's great, if they love it, then it was good for them. It was great. If it wasn't, they can tell you, I don't know, it just didn't hit me, it didn't work for me, etc. They can't always tell you why. So that's where you got to be careful. All of us, and I try to stay away from absolute statements, but this one, I think I feel comfortable saying, all of us are critics in one way, shape, or form. So we've all gone to the movies, we've all gone to plays, we've all gone to different theatrical experiences. We've read books, we've done, we've seen work that other people have done, and we've decided I like that or I don't like that. What's always remarkable to me is people go to, they read a book or they watch a big film and they critique it as if they could do it when they've never done it themselves. That always is remarkable to me. But that's just part of some human nature. I don't think you have to adopt that style, but that is part of some human nature. So people are used to deciding whether or not something's good, and they think they can tell you why. That wasn't an earthquake, that was me kicking the table. They think they can tell you why, but they can't always. So you've got to make sure that the people who are telling you why they think it's not working and giving you advice on how to change it have some experience with that. They know what they're talking about. Because in this day and age, the advice you can get advice from 100 people tomorrow putting it on Facebook and you won't know any of them. So you got to be careful with respect to who you're taking advice from and what their agenda is when they're giving you that advice.
And I think that's true in everything, isn't it? Whether you want to get advice on fixing your car, or whether you want to get advice on form for your push-ups, or whether you want to get advice on copywriting or building your business, everyone's a coach nowadays, aren't they? I mean, everyone's a critic as well as being a coach. So I think you need to be very careful. Select your heroes wisely. It's always been a motto of mine. And if you can find those people who are going to mentor you and surround yourself with the people who will bring you up, who have the experience in what you're hoping to achieve. But that's not sufficient. They also have to be good enough at teaching it, because there are plenty of people who are experts. They're just not interested in teaching. Yeah. And you need to find the experts who are happy to teach you or happy to be persuaded into teaching you. Find yourself a mentor. Join a mastermind program. Read books. Come to Google Hangouts. All of these things.
I think we just fixed our problem. Now it seems to be going back and forth when we talk.
That's excellent. I think the key is to not blue box anybody. Just have nobody selected.
No blue box. We've solved the problem. It only took us 36 minutes to do it, but we seem to have solved the problem.
I have a question. Okay, so we should ask Lou Bortone how to work it, because he is a magician with this kind of technology. A couple of people have said that. Lou himself has said I should be giving you lessons. Richard says, Matt, you look more normal than I expected. Thanks, Richard. I don't know how to respond to that. Appreciate that.
Matthew gets that a lot, by the way.
When I dance, which is very rarely, but Michael does have a thing when we do our mastermind meetups, the Book Yourself Solid mentoring program. We meet up 3 times a year, LA, Miami, Philly, Baltimore in June.
Every time I make Matthew dance, because Matthew...
He makes me dance, that's it. I'm like a dancing monkey. He's like, right, Matthew, come.
Stand up for a second, Matthew. Stand up for a second. I just want them to show you. I want you to show them how you look like a piece of spaghetti. Stand up.
I'm not wearing any pants.
Oh, okay. Well then.
No. And that's the British version. But trousers. You're not going to be able to see. You can probably see my snake-like hips there.
Yes. See my snake-like hips. You've got a 30-inch waist and 30-inch shoulders. So what he did, he looks like
not fair. At least 32-inch.
And it's very funny. So we have a good time with it.
Like spaghetti in a wind tunnel, I've heard, and that's when we do so we normally dance at least once. How do you push yourself to play all out? Asked Penny.
Well, I ask myself, what's more important? I have 2 questions that I ask myself on a regular basis. Am I more interested in approval or results? Am I more interested in approval or results? If I'm interested in approval, then I'll play small, because I'll pander. I'll try to appease people. If I'm interested in results, I'll focus on what I'm trying to accomplish. Now, the second question I ask myself is, whose life am I living? Am I living the lives of the people who have only critical things to say, or am I living my life? Whose life do you want to live? Yours or someone else's? If you let everything that everybody says if it's not perfect about you or your work, if you let all that affect you, you're living their life, not your life. And frankly, as much as I love the people I serve, if people show up and they, take issue with me for just trying to be helpful, that's not my problem. I couldn't care less. Doesn't mean that every once in a while you don't do something that is kind of, that warrants an apology. Like, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't good. Or I made a joke that was a little bit too off color. I apologize. That's normal. That's just being a human being, an adult.
Welcome to my world. That's multiple times a day.
Exactly.
I think it's easier to apologize than ask for permission. And if you, mean it when you say sorry, then you kind of get forgiven.
Well, we have a staff member who's only dedicated to managing Matthew's faux pas. That's it. That's not what that person does all day long.
That's right. Sending a handwritten apology note. There.
Exactly.
A few questions about rehearsals, Michael.
Yeah.
Is it important? And this is actually from me. I can wing it like the best of them. I'm inherently lazy. I can talk on any subject for at least 15 minutes with zero preparation. Why bother rehearsing? Do I need to? Will I be more authentic if I don't have a canned script?
Right.
Related to that.
So rehearsal doesn't equate to canned. Rehearsal and canned are not the same thing. Canned is just a term that's used to describe something that was flat and boring. And maybe it's done over and over and over again and it's flat and boring. But the great performers are able to do the same thing again and again and again and make it seem like it's never been done before. Yeah. Because they live in the moment. So do you see, this is why I'm so passionate. It's amazing it took me 10 years to get back to my roots to talk to you guys about this, because it's not just about being on the stage. It's about all aspects of life. Living in the moment is what allows you to experience life as it is. If it's hard, you experience it. You don't dumb it down with substances, alcohol, food, etc. If it's joyous, then you get to experience it and love it, as opposed to just run off trying to get to the next moment. Jake said this to me. He's 9 years old the other day. I said, what's today? He said Tuesday. I said, I wish it was Wednesday. I thought it was Wednesday. He goes, why? I said, because then it's just 2 days closer to get to the boat, because we can't go to the boat till Friday this week. He's like, Dad, or maybe Petra said it, but then Jake gave me a hard time about it. One of them said, yeah, but now you're wishing your life away. You're going to lose a whole day of your life because you're looking toward Friday. And I thought, of course, that's exactly right. So being in the moment. Now, when you are performing, you can do something like this where you can just chat, have fun, hopefully some good ideas will be shared, people will enjoy themselves and feel like they, made good use of their time. But if I want to charge $10,000, $25,000, $100,000, I got to do a little bit more than sit here and have a conversation with you. So the higher the stakes are, the more rehearsal you need to do. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're speaking to a couple people, they're any less important than if you're speaking to a couple thousand. You give the same performance, you do the same work, no matter how many people are in the audience. But I think you need I think you need so much more rehearsal than you think you need, and then multiply that by about 1,000. Because I'll often ask people, so how often, how much rehearsal did you do on that presentation? And they'll say, oh, a lot. I ran through it like 3 times in my hotel room the night before and 1 time the morning before in my hotel room. Well, I did that for a new speech once, and I bombed it. The one bomb I've ever had, like literal bomb. Like people were like, oh, that sucks. I was trying something new, and I thought, well, my natural ability to perform is going to allow me to rise to the occasion. But you do not rise to the occasion. You just fall back on your training. So if you are a naturally gregarious person, you're good at improv, you are very quick-witted, very, very verbally dexterous, then yeah, you can get up there, you can put on a good show, people can learn some stuff if you've got good content, and they'll say, well, that was good, Matthew was funny, he's charming, but it won't blow them away. And if you want to blow them away, meaning if you want to be at the top of the game, If you want to play in the pros, then it's all preparation. I mean, the military says this. They said you do not fall back, you do not rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training. When you look at athletes, the game is not won during the hour of play. It's won in practice the 6 months going up to that game. Because if you're not in shape for that game, you're not going to get in shape a day before that game. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So if you guys go look at Think Big, if you go to YouTube and search on Think Big Revolution, you'll see.
Don't go now. Go in 15 minutes.
Not now, but in 15 minutes. You'll go and see an extended trailer of my new keynote called the Think Big Revolution. And when you are creating something like that, you're the writer, the producer, the performer, and the stage manager. And so that's a lot of work, and that's going to take time. So it took me 5 months to write and rewrite and write and rewrite. And I was willing to throw away so much of the work I had done because I found a better way to do it.
I remember you called me the night before, not the night before, 10 days before. You'd been rehearsing for months, and you called me 10 days before. You said, I've just rewritten like 40% of it because it wasn't working. And then I couldn't get in touch with you for the next 10 days. For the next 10 days, you were incommunicado. There was no talking to you. There was no emailing you, calling you, because you were in the zone. You were practicing.
Well, yeah, because it was interesting. Yesterday on a call, I was talking about deadlines. You know, if you don't have a deadline for a project, all you've got is work and ideas. It may get done, but it's going to get done. You know, it's going to take a while to get it done.
Absolutely.
And a couple people commented. They said, well, yes, but one of them was in the software world. They said, yes, but in the software world, you know, you just kind of have to let it flow, and, you know, you don't know when the creativity is going to come, so a deadline is going to stifle you. Someone else said, yes, that's right. In things that are creative, you can't have deadlines. And I said, well, I don't get it. How is that possible? Every creative experience that I've ever been a part of has been fueled by a deadline. If you write a book, you've given a commitment to the publisher, there's a publication date, that's been put out in the catalogs, pre-orders have already gone out, that's a deadline. And you're going to need to create a good work, a great work by that deadline. Could you improve it later? Yes, we'll do a second edition, a third edition. Same thing, when I'm doing a keynote, if it's new, I have a date, it's got to be ready for that. I perform for that. I do the absolute best I possibly can, and I organize my rehearsal schedule, my prep schedule, all around that date. Does it mean I'm done? No, it means I got to keep working. This week, today, this morning, I ran through that same keynote. Yes, last week I ran through it 4 times. So it's this continuous improvement that is what makes somebody remarkable. But if you don't have that initial date, if you don't have people waiting on delivery, something expected from you, how are you going to find the time to do it? There's just so many things begging for your attention. So I'm not sure where that came from.
So that was my question about rehearsals.
It's about rehearsals. So the length of time you have to do something is the length of time it takes. So you do everything you can to get it done. And so the same thing is relevant for marketing campaigns or program development. There are some programs, you know, I've had programs that we've been doing for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So the ones that I've been doing for 10 years, I know what works. They're strong. We're now, it's systematized, it's leveraged. We repeat most all of the administrative tasks. We use our past experience to reduce the amount of time we need to put into it now, so that now it's profit and not expenses. The way it would be when you're first starting. And I mean expenses, I mean time, money, etc. But that's because we've been doing it for so long. We continuous improvement, continuous improvement, continuous improvement. That's rehearsal. So can you rehearse live? Yeah, of course. Can you learn in action? Of course. So I think you've got to have people waiting. You know, you've got to have people waiting for something that you have promised them. And as a result, that's going to drive you toward that particular date.
You know, Michael, I don't hold myself up as an example, but I find when if I want to give myself a financial incentive, you know, I should need to earn X thousand dollars by such and such a date, I spend the money in advance. Jennifer, if I was paying, I'm like, well, no, the money's in the bank, but holy crap, I've just spent 20 grand on a new car, but I need to earn 20 grand. Quick, what am I going to do? A couple of quick fire questions about public speaking then, Michael. Quick fire questions. Do I need to speak to market myself or my business?
No, absolutely not.
Thank you.
Yes, you need to speak, like we're speaking to each other now, yes, but you don't need to get on a stage. If you don't want to get on a stage, don't get on a stage to be a public speaker. If you hate it, why would you bother doing it? There's no point to doing it if you hate it. If you're interested in it, then work at it, learn, train, develop, get better. But no, I'm just of the mindset that you don't really have to do any particular marketing activity. I mean, I think that networking is pretty much a good idea, meaning you got to keep developing relationships with the people in your network. I think direct outreach, meeting new people, people that you don't know, but you'd like to know, that you think would have an influence positively on your life or your business. I think that's probably a pretty good idea. I think referral strategy is probably a pretty good idea, but, public speaking or blogging or writing for newspapers, those to me, those things are optional. I don't think you have to do that to be successful. I think you do it if you have some interest in doing it, you like doing it, and you want to continue to improve at it over time. That's when I think you do those things.
Okay, so if I don't feel that I've ever wanted to do public speaking, I don't have to do public speaking because it's your thing at the moment or anybody's thing at the moment. Good, I appreciate that. Permission granted. If it fills you with fear or you feel it's the worst thing you could possibly do, concentrate your efforts on something that you're more comfortable with.
Yeah. Now,
doesn't mean you should be uncomfortable.
At the same time, I'd say this. Public speaking is a great opportunity to overcome some of your fears. There's a woman named Lori who came to one of the Michael Port Method master classes, but she did not want to be a professional speaker. She had never given. She had no desire to find her voice. And she decided master class would be a good place to do it. She was the only person in a room that had many professional speakers in it. She was the only person that made everybody cry. Because her story was so real, it was so touching. She overcome resistance, even to give that it was truly remarkable. And now, guess what? She's a CPA. She wasn't somebody who planned on being a professional speaker. She'd never performed a day in her life. But she was so compelled to share her story of how she found her voice that she's now going out and speaking.
Super. So when it comes to the actual speaking, when you stand up there in the room, you're the first person, first minute of your speech probably, or of your performance, probably the most important part, or one of the most important parts. How do you begin? Do you introduce yourself? Do you start with a question? How many of you have ever woken up needing to go to the bathroom? Raise your hands if you have. Do you tell them what you're going to tell them? And then tell them, and then tell them what you told them? Is there a good way of beginning a presentation that is effective, basically?
Yeah, sure. The performer's job is to break the rules. That's what I think. You don't break the rules just to break the rules. You break the rules if you find a better way of doing something. The performer's job is to break the rules to create a new experience for the people in the room. Now, one of the things that audiences don't find particularly interesting is sameness. They like contrast. We can talk about contrast if we don't actually have too much time. But to answer your specific question, they don't like sameness. And when you come out and ask a question, you run the risk of sounding like 80% of the speakers who've been told to start with a question. And the audience might feel, oh, this person's pandering. Because the question is obviously a question that they're going to say yes to. Like, how many of you guys want more clients? I mean, they're in the room, that's why they're there. So you got to be careful about that. To tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them, makes perfect sense. It's appropriate for many speakers. But you want to create You want the audience want to know what's coming next. So there are presentations, there are content presentations. There's always a message in content. You address these types of presentations slightly differently. But for the most part, no. I think you run the risk of sounding like every other. Then, of course, there's the little filler at the beginning. And so, I just came in Arizona, and my arms are tired. This little filler, and then you go, okay, let's get started. And of course, it started when that person started introducing. Before you even walk on, you start. And you want someone else to introduce you generally, although you may find a better way to do it yourself. So there's a rule that can be broken. But that bio is so just like it is on your website, wherever you go. If you're going to a sales meeting, they've got to respect you before you walk in the door. And that's what that bio does. And if it's too long, if it's too over, then they kind of sit back like, oh, can we get on with this thing already? But if it's not enough, if your qualities aren't there, then they're thinking, should I listen to this? I don't know. 15 minutes, and you don't want the first 15 minutes to be about that. Then you also see a lot of start saying, I'm going to tell you a story. Now, there's nothing wrong with telling stories. Telling stories is a huge part of our job as marketers, writers, etc. But when you come out like that, you might sound like the 6 speakers that went before you, and like, okay, here's the public speaker. You don't need to necessarily tell them you're going to tell them a story. You might say, oh my God, that just reminds me of a story that happened. That's different. But to say, I'm going to tell you a story, or can I tell you a story? Because they might feel obligated to say yes, but really what they want to say is no, because they just want some information that is in the thing that your description of your talk. But the story is absolutely critical to get them there, so you need to tell it to them. They just don't know yet. So there's some, you got to be careful about doing the things like everybody else does it and assume that that's right because everybody does it. It's sort of like, Matthew, when we put up a new website, people will start copying that website immediately, but they have no idea if it's actually working. We don't know if it's working yet. Right?
Sometimes within a day.
Yeah, within a day. But we don't know. So you might want to wait at least a few months before you copy it, because if it's up there for 4 months, 5 months, then it's working. But just the first day, just wait a little while because you don't know what works yet. Okay.
Michael, we've got to wrap up. Ali says, we've had a few people say we're starting to get some feedback on the line as well now. Maybe at the top of the hour, we're burning out the Hangouts. I'd like to say, Ali says, you and Matthew should do a stand-up comedy sketch about bromance while teaching the audience about performing. Thank you, Ali. A few people have told me I'm causing all sorts of audio issues. If that was me, forgive me. I will deny it until I'm blue in the face. It wasn't my fault.
As we used to say when we were in college, deny, deny, deny.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't me. Here's what I would like to do, because we're absolutely terrible at using Google Hangouts, but we will improve with successive iterations. Can you go to facebook.com/Michael Port and give us your feedback? Tell us what you took away. Tell us what you enjoyed. Tell us what you didn't like, so we can.
On the technology, we'll fix that. Don't worry about that. We don't need that. But like, what your big takeaways are, what you learned, what you discovered, what you appreciated, what you want to share, what you want to add to the conversation. So I'd rather you do it right now on Facebook, because that's where I hang out. I don't hang out in Google Hangout and in Google Plus. Hang out over there on Facebook. So that would be awesome.
Wait, if you want to become a better public speaker, or you want to become a better performer, go to themichaelportmethod.com and book your space. We're overly subscribed for the next few months, I believe, but get on the waiting list. Let us know that you're interested. Let us know where you want Michael to come visit you.
We're sold out for all coaching spots, but we have observing spots because we've got very big theaters. So I've got room for observers for May, next week in LA, and I've got room in Baltimore in June for observers. And then you'd have to go on the waiting list for coaching spots for the next one that's announced, which hasn't been announced yet. Coaching spots go like that.
And if you want to join Michael and I and plenty of other people in Baltimore for 3 days in June, celebrate my birthday with me in June in Baltimore, then go to bookyourselfsolidmentoring.com and find out how you can join us in Baltimore and at least 2 or 3 times a week, every week in our mentoring program. We'd like to have you there. It's up to you. We don't, it's up to you. There are some people you're meant to serve and others not so much, but we're here for you if you feel that it's right.
That's right. And
Thanks, Michael.
I don't know, what else can I say? I love you all very much, and not in a weird way, although I do love Matthew in a kind of weird way. I can't really live without him. I've been trying to get him to move from Malta. I've got a whole a second house that I've offered to him. I said, Matthew, you can have this, but he still hasn't made the commitment. So until next time, we'll do this again in 4 weeks. Maybe we'll get motivated and we'll do it even sooner. If you guys like it, tell us on michaelport.com/Facebook, and maybe you can compel us to do more of them sooner, not just once a month. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Speak to you soon. Bye for now.